Hello and welcome to Talk to Ringside Live, episode 3, brought to you by Ringside Boxing Australia. Today we have a special guest from the Collingwood Football Club, a Collingwood Football Club boxing coach, Michael Dugina. Hi Michael, thank you for coming along.
All right, my pleasure, mate.
So basically, with every single AFL club, there tends to be the boxing component into their training. So today we're actually going to go through a few questions with the Collingwood Football Club boxing coach and get him to answer and give us an insight on AFL Players boxing training. So Michael, how is boxing incorporated with an AFL Players training program?
Initially, a lot of the coaches would use the boxing component more as a modality if particular players are injured. Usually they're lower limb injuries and so on, so there's not too many options for them to do other than some upper body work, so we go to the conditioning component of boxing, and that's how we initially implemented it, and from there it's basically spiraled into a huge form of conditioning component. We want to offload the guys from their legs on a day if they've had a big day on the track the previous day, in particular pre-season. We tend to sort of do a huge amount of boxing in that sense, where it's more conditioning and so on. We were doing bag work, pad work, a little bit of body sparring and so on. But there's other elements to it that I like adding in particular to head sparring, which I think is probably more a psychological effect it has than the actual physical component. As you know, the combative part where they have to challenge themselves. So.
Awesome. So, what would you say are some of the difficulties that AFL players come across while undergoing boxing training?
I think the difficulties they might come across is that one initially I said when I try and get the guys to match up and spar, in particular head spar. Obviously, if they've got some injuries, in particular shoulder injuries, that will eliminate that component of their training or their conditioning. But that would be the only one, and obviously depending on how much they've done throughout the week, it all comes down to load and how much they do. But if I could, I'd have everyone sparring to the head, but again, it's something that you want to sort of gradually implement into their program, and again, it's more for their psyche than physical, because a lot of these guys they're elite athletes, they're elite of the elite, and they can basically hit the bags or pad work and do that conditioning component to the cows come home, but it's not until you actually challenge one another and start to do some head sparring, they don't really have as much of a physical output there. It's more of a mental or psychological output where they're challenged, in a sense where I find that gets more transfer into when they play their initial match day, because there is a lot of piece of their adrenaline coming up as high as they possibly can, so I want them to feel that as often as they possibly can.
Awesome. So amongst the group, I mean, you probably train something like 40 players now that are currently on the Collingwood AFL list. Who would you say is probably the best boxer?
In this present time, it has to be Scott Pendlebury.
Which is the captain?
He's the captain, and obviously being the captain, he's the one that's pretty much done the cross training and the boxing component from day dot. He's our most finesse mover. He moves really well. He copes well under pressure. And then you've got the others, obviously, Dane Swan, who's more of he's in two phases with it. As far as the pressure component, he's not as sharp and as a good mover as Scott, but he does trouble most of them because he's actually quite tough and durable, and being a southpaw helps as well. Going from there, you've got the others like Marley Williams, Taylor Adams, Brodie Grundy, the young guy Braden Sire, who's injured at the moment. He's going to be fantastic. He's taken it on board. He wasn't phased by any of the boys older than him, and I think he's going to be really good, just purely because of his composure. As you know, you get hit. Most guys tend to sort of back off. This kid doesn't. He still keeps coming forward. So, yeah.
Tends to enjoy it, I guess.
Yeah, it does.
So we've asked you about your current list. Now, let's say you've been at the club for 16 years or so. Right. So who would you say?
Probably since 94, actually, I started here.
There you go. So it's been about 16 years. So who would you say is probably one of the best you've trained throughout your 16 years?
Oh, look, Scott's obviously going to have to be up there. I'd probably have to name Scott Pendlebury, Paul Curia, Anthony Rocker, Gavin Brown. In the earlier days, Mick McGuan was really good. He actually really liked throwing him. He actually moved really well. It was quite tough. There's all these guys that come into mind. It's because I've been here for such a long time. It's hard to sort of pinpoint exactly which one, but yeah, I think those ones that I've named, they're the ones that stick into my mind. And they were, again, most of those guys were all workhorses, and they actually just soaked it all up. And Nathan Buckley too, he loved that component of doing it. But guys like Anthony Rocker, who are still here, he might not have been the most elegant mover, but he was tough. He could wear it, and he didn't get phased by getting hit. And that's the sort of thing I like. So.
That's half the challenge most of the time.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. So. All right. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.
And thank you for your time.
No worries. Thank you.
See you all next week on Wednesday, 1:30 p.m. Melbourne local time on the Ringside Boxing Australia Facebook Live. Talk to Ringside Live. Don't forget to hashtag any questions or comments that you may have on Twitter, Instagram or Facebook. Thank you.